Welcome to the Caregiving Podcast. I'm Inga.
And I'm Julie.
And long story short, we have Caregiving. We are two momtrepreneurs who have built an in-home care business from the ground up, guided every step of the way by God's care and fueled by agape love. Almost 14 years later, we felt called to create this podcast as a resource for families with caregiving needs. Whether you care for a family member or are looking for advice on professional caregiving, we want this to be a platform to support you.
Each week, we will come to you with encouraging stories of families who have found the right balance for their loved ones, tips for how to care for them and you, and much more. We hope you continue to join us each week as we share in this exciting new journey together.
Hello, Sunshines, and hello, Julie. How are you today?
Good morning, Inga.
How's it going?
Good. It's another day in paradise.
I always ask, you always say good. And then we always sit here and look at each other for a little bit.
Because we know we're fibbing. It's been a long week. And you know, home care, it's not just all roses and kisses. It's lots of roller coastery things.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Lots to consider.
Well, anyway, tell me something
always.
good. Tell me something good.
Oh, good. Then let me see. Something good. You want my good news story?
Sure.
Jump into that? Okay. Well, mine is actually...
We're going to go all sorts of out of order because we did not bring our cover letter. So our schedule of events. No, we're just trying to keep you all on your toes.
That's right. That's right. Just don't think we're in a rut.
Yeah, exactly.
Or dependent on a piece of paper.
So we're changing it up on purpose.
This is something that's in the show notes. It's an article. And we're going to be talking about aging and the way we perceive it and the way we talk, and we think we're polite, but maybe we're not so much. So this article came up, and it's signs that you are officially old, but they assure us that it's okay. So one of the things that says that you're getting older is when you are agreeing with your parents. And it's true, because I do say that my mother gets smarter as I age.
Yes.
Right? Seeing your niece getting into high school is a big deal. And I know that you and I just had a conversation of the other day where you were talking about your show kids.
Yes.
As they progress into the different age groups and stuff. And then mine was like my motorcycle boys.
Oh, yes.
That they started out, I've known them for years and years and years. And now their little ones are in the class when I had first met them.
Right.
And I was like, you can't have kids. Well, you're not getting older. That I just can't keep up. When sitting for long periods of time, it's hard to get up from the chair, or you make popping noises when you do a certain motion.
Ruh-roh.
I know. Not knowing current slang. Now, I'm bad at that. You're good at this.
I'm good because I am surrounded by people that know the slang.
And the other one besides the slang is understanding a trend.
Yes.
And you're so good at that. And then I'm the one that just asks the dumb questions. Like, what does that mean? Literally the other day I saw an acronym for something and I just had to go in and Google it because I didn't want to ask.
I try for the most part when the kids talk about stuff or they use I try to pick up on what does that mean? But
right.
I often do have to consult with Google.
Yeah. Well, the problem is not just any slang words nowadays, but even emojis. Mm-hmm. Evidently, when you use a peach emoji, it's not necessarily a piece of fruit we're talking about.
Very scandalous.
Yeah. See, who knew? Falling to sleep earlier, then I turn into a pumpkin at 9. When you get together with your friends and you start talking about your blood pressure and your indigestion, what foods are going to give you the worst indigestion? Or it's funny.
My mom talks about that sometimes when they'll get together with either friends or neighbors or whatever, and they all talk about their ailments and who has it the worst off at the time.
Yeah, and then the last one that this is terrible. When you either have hair in your nose or your ears.
Oh gosh.
Wrinkles, gray or white hair, and you need glasses for reading.
Yeah. All of the above.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about
no
the hair.
hairs.
Maybe not the nose hair or the ear hair.
Yeah,
but
that's a guy thing maybe. But
have you ever seen those videos of guys getting like their faces waxed and their nose and their ears waxed? Oh my gosh. They take wax and they literally smear it all in there and then put like a popsicle stick in it, twirl it around, let it dry, and then just yard it off.
Oh.
It looks really painful. Out of the nose, 2 at a time, just...
Oh,
no,
just
thank you.
one time, both holes.
Yep.
Oh,
Can you imagine?
Makes mine hurt just thinking about
I
it.
know. I don't know how they don't just sob and cry after that, but
They probably do.
yeah,
They
maybe.
just don't show you that part of it.
Probably cut real quick and then they go and cry in the corner. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so from your article, I am getting older. That's what I've learned this morning.
I hit several of those.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Well, I'll read mine. And it's not like there's a little bit of sadness that goes along with this, but it's been such a positive thing and such a blessing in the community. And ultimately we're coming to the end of an era. And for those of you who, hear me talk about Grammy Fisher, but have never seen her, we will have this article on our show notes. And there's a picture of my Grandma Fisher because she is one of the main characters in this story.
Oh, cute.
So the article says, it's the end of an era in Columbia Falls. The Clothes Closet thrift store at the north end of Nucleus Avenue will close in December after 70 years of giving back to the community. The nonprofit organization simply doesn't have the volunteers to continue anymore, noted Betty Hennenberg, who is the president of the Columbia Falls Church Women United, which owns the building. Church Women United is a group of women from St. Richard's Catholic Church, All Saints Episcopal Church, Our Savior's Lutheran Church, and the Columbia Falls United Methodist Church. The closet initially opened at the Episcopal Church decades ago, offering secondhand clothes and deeply discounted rates for area families. Proceeds from sales in turn went back to a host of civic organizations. There were fewer women in the workplace at the time and many more older women to assure good attendance, Vice President Marion Fisher said in a history of the organization. Side note, Marion Fisher is Grammy Fisher. Then the late Ruth Renfro brought up the idea of a resale retail store operated by the churchwomen to raise funds for a 1970 Columbia Falls High School band trip to Europe. Renfro was a go-getter, and she found a small building that was formerly a drive-in restaurant on Nucleus Avenue to house the store, Fisher recalled in an interview last week. The Ministerial Association loaned the women $25 for the first rent.
Oh my gosh.
High finance for 1970, Fisher recalled. The store was open one day a week, and the late Barbara Lawrence was host for several years, baking cookies and making coffee for the ladies. The band made it there and back to Europe, and the closet expanded. The women would cut old cotton clothes into rags for multiple industrial businesses and mills in town. They also made lap robes for veterans. In 1976, they bought a former lumber yard at the end of Nucleus, where the store still resides today. It was a success, and by 1988, the mortgage was paid off. 20 years ago, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the place would be bustling with women making robes or cutting rags. The store, which was open just 2 days a week, still gave between $13,000 to $25,000 a year to community causes, including the food bank, support for homeless teens, and a host of other organizations. But slowly but surely, it started to lose volunteers. Women have to work nowadays to make ends meet for most families, and many older women have died, the women explained. The store has one employee, Jamie Meyer. I love this job, Meyer said last week. I wish I was retiring, but I have to find something else.
Oh.
The building is up for sale, and the proceeds will go back to the churches, which in turn plan to support the same organizations as it has for decades, just with one larger but sadly final award. A buyer has not yet been found. All of the women said it was the people that made the place special over the years. Fisher's favorite part of the store boils down to one word for her: belonging, she said. Fisher is 93 and a half and keeps her humor. In Denmark, you celebrate half years because you don't know if you're going to make it, she said with a smile.
I love that.
I'm going to miss all the people, said Marie Clark, who worked there for 10 years. They were fun and you learned a lot.
Oh, cute.
So anyway, it's just wild because I remember a lot of times, like during the summer, if I would stay with Grandma Fisher and Grandma and Grandpa Fisher, I would get to go and volunteer with her on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And she always called it the double K department store instead of the clothes closet because it was spelled with K's. And man, it was such a huge, huge, huge part of her life for a long time. And,
I love that.
Yeah, she volunteered there a lot and was and still active with the United Methodist Women and Church Women United. And anyway, yeah.
So was that in the paper?
It was in the Hungry Horse News.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I didn't even know. So I called my grandma and I was like, Grandma, I didn't know you were going to be in the paper. And I made the front page and it was even for something good.
Oh,
Grandpa used to always say when I would look through the paper, he would always ask me if I was looking for my chowder-headed friends in the roundup section, or the police blotter or whatever. Anyway, so it's a good story. I mean, it is sad to see that coming to a close, but what a thing that they did for 70 years.
Oh
Just
my
amazing.
Gosh. That is so amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
So since we're all backwards and upside down, now we'll do our verse.
Right.
And this is Psalm 92, verses 12 through 14. It says, "The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing."
Yep. That's all about the aging.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to be talking today about is when you say something to an elder that you might think it's nice, but it actually might be offensive.
Right.
And I was like, I need to learn more about this because some of the things that you just say, you got to be careful. But the good thing about it is our elders will also tell us
Yes.
if they don't like it.
For the most part, or they'll certainly tell their neighbors and friends and church women.
True that. Yeah. So anyway, that I just thought that verse tied in to the topic of the day.
So basically, we're going to be talking about polite ways that you are talking about aging that are actually rude.
Yeah.
And you kind of gathered some information from several different sources that'll be in the show notes. So
Yeah. No, I kind of pulled together a handful of articles that each had different versions. And I was like, oh, these are all really good. Let's just make one big talk.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start out. Barbara Hershey is an actress. And she said, "I'm not afraid of aging, but more afraid of people's reactions to my aging." And so I thought that was a really interesting quote to start with.
Right.
Because once again, here we're going to talk about things that are said with good intentions. So,
boy, you're looking old today.
Yeah.
That might be considered rude.
Yeah.
Gosh, look at that gray hair. I'm just making some stuff up. I don't know what we're going to get to, but I can imagine that there are some things that...
How can we have some tact?
Well, and it's when you think about like my grandma's generation, they're kind of brutal to each other also.
Yeah.
But anyway, we better be good.
Yes, that. Yeah. So there is a stigma against getting older. And we've got to figure out how not to do that.
To embrace the aging, not make it the stigma.
Exactly right. Exactly. So, people have been underestimating me because of my age for decades and saying I should retire, said Sister Jean. She was a 104-year-old nun, but she went viral for her cheerleader level antics while working as a chaplain at the Loyola University Chicago's men's basketball team. Oh, wow. And not only is Schmidt still working as a chaplain, a role she's held for 29 years, she just published her first book, Wake Up with Purpose, What I've Learned in My First 100 Years.
Oh, wow.
And she's certainly not ready to retire, a suggestion she finds funny. Just because I'm old doesn't mean I can't do things. I've lived this long because I do things I love. And she's not the only person to encounter these assumptions about getting older. There's still a strange stigma about age. And we say strange because the fact is that we're all aging from the second we're born. There's no escaping aging except, well, the alternative, which is dying. And nobody wants that. So even though we're all getting older right now, this very minute, how depressing is that actually? Sometimes we never think we'll be old.
Right.
As a result, ageism runs rampant in society, not to mention in the workplace. And so what we're going to talk about is some of the things that we say, how they can affect us as we change, age.
I have to tell you this story. So I just had a conversation with a family that they're looking at getting some services in place. And so the daughter's kind of describing mom and talking about how she really actually got offended at one point in time because it must have been like a home health type person that was in the home suggested that perhaps she go to the senior center for some, activity and socialization. She was very offended by that because that's where all the old people go.
Yeah.
And even though she was in her 80s or is in her 80s, she did not relate to that at all. So why would you say such a thing?
Yeah, exactly. I have two instances of that. Just recently, my husband had a class reunion of quite an advanced number, but he was just not having any of it. He was just like, no, it can't possibly be that many years. And then just earlier this week, one of our younger clients, he's in his early 20s.
Oh God, I forgot about this.
Yes. And he, his caregiver had called in sick. And so when I called to say, hey, Scott is ill, what do you want me to send in a sub? How do you want me to rearrange the hours this week? And he goes, well, I'm a little worried about him because he's in his advanced stages. I think he's in his 40s.
Advanced stages.
Oh my word!
Did you tell him how old you are?
I did not, but I was just like, "You're killing me, kid."
Isn't it funny?
Yeah. So I remember being young, thinking 30 was old. I know we've talked about that before, but geez, now I think I'm just a
now that you
chicken.
are 30, you're like 30's not old at all.
Again. You just had a birthday.
I did just have a birthday,
and it was so funny because the girls actually decorated your room with 29 balloon on the balloon.
They know how to make it an old lady's day. How to not offend me
I
with my
get
age.
so excited when I get carded nowadays. I make a big old scene and everybody's embarrassed but me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, woohoo! I just got carded.
The only thing I get carded for these days is cold medicine.
Oh my gosh.
You can't buy cold medicine without giving your ID anymore.
Me.
What? Yeah. All right. So how we talk about aging affects how well we age. Our perception of aging and how we talk about it can directly impact our health and others' health. So this is in 3 different ways. Psychologically, people with positive perceptions of aging are more likely to live longer and thrive mentally.
Isn't that interesting?
Yep. I think it's that with everything.
It's a thing. It's in your head, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
A large degree of it.
We are what we think about, and we are what, we draw those things to us, I think. So,
yeah.
Anyway, behaviorally, people choose to take better care of a body and a mind that they love and plan on keeping for a long time. And physically, an optimistic perception of aging leads to less stress and less inflammation in the body, which in turn leads to better heart health and stronger immune system. So clearly the words that we use to talk about aging are important, but even if you're respectful of older generations, discussing the topic of aging with care and never using flat out offensive terms can be tricky, right? Just like with mental health etiquette, it's not enough to know the etiquette rules and etiquette mistakes. You also need to be aware of polite habits that most people dislike, right? Because there's certain things that we know for sure. No, you can't do that. You can't say that or whatever, but things that we think are polite aren't really being seen as polite.
Yeah. So those are the things we're going to teach you about today and give some examples.
Yeah.
So basically the first one is telling somebody they're attractive for their age.
Well, you sure look good for 30.
Yeah. Equating youth with beauty and aging with ugliness is one of society's most prevalent and most damaging stereotypes.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that something?
As we move through these, I'm going to wonder to myself if I've done any of these things inadvertently.
Oh, I know. I
Yeah.
actually think nowadays on these podcasts, when we're choosing topics, I'm like, I need to learn more about this.
Yes. I don't think I've done that one, but they do say that in place of something like that, you could say, you look so beautiful and happy, you're glowing.
Yeah. Yep. And basically we have to understand that people are beautiful at every age.
Yes.
Yeah. This one gal gave her personal example of that. She said, people used to always tell me I looked younger than I am, often remarking on my lack of wrinkles. At the time, I appreciated it, but as I got older and these compliments slowed down, it made me really feel bad about myself. I poured tons of money into anti-wrinkle creams and Botox, trying to hold on to the looking younger than I am idea. It really got me down. These past few years, I've stopped all of that and made a conscious effort to love myself, wrinkles included. But it's tough because I feel like it's an uphill battle against society.
Yeah.
We don't even know we do that to each other.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. We just never know what somebody's true hidden insecurity is. And that for her was a big button to push. Yeah. And so instead of saying it that way, you could say or don't say you're aging gracefully. Aging gracefully is too often used as a synonym for not looking your age.
Cinnamon? Synonym?
if I could go one podcast without screwing up a big word, it would be friggin'
It's
fabulous.
so funny because you get going so fast and then
yeah,
there
and
it
then
is.
you guys
Anyway.
love to stop me. You give each other the look.
We
Anyway,
really should have a camera on Alyssa.
I know. We must, because of the rolling of the eyes that fall onto the floor, literally, are kind of a crack up. So anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, to really age gracefully, we need to be comfortable in your own skin. That's hard to do with the constant pressure to look younger.
That's very true, honestly.
Well,
And it's everywhere.
oh yeah. Well, even when I do my farm mama fitness things, I look haggard as hell. But I am loud and proud about it. I ain't trying to hide nothing. I got farm hair, don't care. Probably don't have my makeup on, and I got bags, but I'm making myself laugh. So I think for the most part, I've pretty much embraced all of the imperfections. Who knows? Someday I might fall into a brittle little puddle and say, what was I thinking? Which probably, but you know, right now,
Probably.
we're just going with it.
No, I think
Yeah.
you're fine.
Ugh.
People enjoy it. And like you said, if you make yourself laugh, who cares?
Right on.
Who cares what anybody else thinks?
Exactly.
Yep.
There you go.
How do you say that word?
I don't know. Well, over. Oh, it's supposed to be an O. Not a
I was
P.
wondering if it was an overemphasizing.
Overemphasizing safety concerns.
Overemphasizing safety concerns.
Anyway, go ahead.
It's normal to worry about a loved one's health when participating in different activities, but age has less to do with the level of risk than other factors, including pre-existing health conditions and fitness level. So basically, questioning someone's abilities based only on their age is not just inaccurate, but could actually make them feel fearful of doing things, causing their health to worsen over time. We want to be encouraging to people continuing to continue living life to their full potential throughout their lifespan and empower people to continue doing what they love. So basically, I'm thinking about like, if someone, don't just automatically say, oh, no, you can't do that because you're old and you might trip, or no, right?
Yeah.
Let them do what they're comfortable doing,
Exactly.
right? So don't
Yeah.
overemphasize those safety concerns.
Yeah. Well, so two trains of thought in my head, because when I'm doing home visits, one of the biggest things I say more than once, especially to some people, because some people, and it depends on your mental, where you're at with, you know, your cognitive issues and such. But quite often, I'm talking about safety, and I keep saying safety is number one in the home.
Right.
Safety is number one in the home. And because I'm trying to get it into their head that if they have balance issues, they need to think about not being impulsive. And when you stand up, make sure you're not woozy at all, and then
Right.
grab your walker.
Right.
Right. However, on the flip side, I also am the owner of a motocross track, and I have an international old timers race, and we cater to the 40 plus crowd. And the majority of the people that race there are in their 60s and 70s. But we have a friend that actually was so cute. The last race of the season was just this past weekend down in Boise, Idaho, and he's 89 years old. And he said, I need to make this race. I need this to be my last race. And his grandson followed him around the track on his motorbike just in case. And they just made such a big deal out of it. But it's all a mindset, and these are people that are still able with their bodies.
Yep.
And he just knew, I need to do it one more time. I just need to do this.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of ties into this story about Jake Abrams. His first love was always surfing, right?
Yeah.
And he is 65 years old and he's still doing it with doctor's approval.
Yeah.
He said, the number of times I have had people tell me to stop kite surfing because it's too risky at your age is mind boggling. He says, I know they're just saying it because they love me and they don't want me getting hurt or dying, but you guys, this is what I live for. So they say, instead, you should say, you have your life jacket and sunscreen, enjoy the waves. So you can express concern about someone's safety and well-being without ever mentioning their age.
Yeah. And see, to me, 65 is nothing.
I know.
I mean, if you're in your early 20s, 40 is a lot. 65 is ancient.
Yes.
But I guess, well, geez, I'm actually closer to 60 than 50 at this time.
I know.
I'm depressing the hell out of myself today.
I'm closer to 50 than 40
Yeah.
after this last
see?
birthday. So
yeah.
But why are you depressed? It's great.
Oh, I ain't depressed. I'm just,
I thought that's what you said. You were depressing yourself.
I am depressing myself. I'm not depressed.
Oh, got it. You're
I'm in the
depressing
stages
yourself.
of becoming depressed, but I'm going to stop myself before I get actually depressed.
Okay.
Depressing into the depressed.
Go do something crazy for a 65-year-old.
I'm not 65.
Oh, wait. Is that on the list of rude things to say?
You're so rude.
I am too.
Oh, now I'm depressed.
Okay. Now, this one's probably dissing your aging body.
Oh, Lord almighty.
How we talk about
golly.
ourselves in relation to aging is just as important about how we talk to others. Telling someone you can't do something because you're a certain age reinforces the belief that people have to give things up that they love because they're getting older. Worse, it may give them an insecurity they didn't already have, making them worry that others think they're too old to, say, wear a cute short skirt. Oh. You're never too old, man.
Yeah.
Flaunt it if you got it. Isn't that what my grandma Dolores said?
And yeah, haven't you heard? Oh, do you see how she dresses?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah,
how could she dress like that for her age?
Yeah, exactly right.
Bless her heart, though. Always followed by a bless her heart. Yeah. A good friend of mine said she was retiring all her crop tops because she felt that now that she's past 30, it's time to stop dressing like a teenager. I thought she looked great, and it made me wonder if she was judging some of my trendier fashion choices. So instead of saying something like that, you could say, who cares about fashion rules? I wear what makes me feel good. Right? Don't let self-depreciating behavior be just one more mistake that you make while shopping. Forget any imposed age restrictions and pick your clothes and activities based on what you enjoy.
I've always been that person. Gosh knows that I do not follow any fashion sense at all, but I do call myself a fashionista.
You are. Mostly on Farm Mama Fitness.
Oh, yes. When the bar is very low there.
Oh.
Okay, do not use the phrase the elderly. Okay, so most people see the word the elderly as outdated and disrespectful. They're individuals who often share nothing but a birth year. The word elderly is generally negative, associated with frailty and illness. What do I prefer to be called? My name works just fine. If you want to group me by my birth date, then you can just say I'm a Sagittarius.
It's funny. I remember years ago talking to my grandma, and she made a comment about that. Like, we like to be called by our name. I'm Marion.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I was doing a home visit one time, and the guy was in his mid to late 90s. And I said, hello, Mr. Whatever. And he looked at me, he looked around, and he goes, are you talking to me? And I go, yeah, because I was taught to use Mr. and Mrs. and be very respectful. And so I was like, yeah. He goes, hey, that's my dad, and he's dead. And I'm like, you're 95. So maybe, but anyway.
He did not want.
So stopped me that fast.
Our neighbor kids, who happen to be some of my favorite kids in the world, they call Mr. or Miss and then the first name. So I am Miss Inga, Mr. Kevin.
Cute.
So I don't know where that came from in their lives, but I wonder if that's like
kind of the same.
Even like, Mr. Bob or Mr. Different older adults in their life. I don't know. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like being called Miss Inga.
I know. And they've come up to me and said Miss Julie, and I always just thought, oh.
Does it just melt you a little bit?
It did. The other day I got a message from one of my younger motocross riders, and he says, hello, Mrs. Brubaker. Makes me feel old, but oh, how cute was that? So cute. See, it's a catch-22. Yeah. No matter what we say, we're going to just tick off somebody.
Right.
So just try to.
I do think Mr. or Mrs. with your last name does seem more older than if Mr. or Miss with your first name. I don't know why it is, but
I just appreciated his effort in showing that. And so that's how I took it. Not that he thinks I'm an old hag.
Oh yeah. No, I see that as a sign of respect also. You are not an old hag.
Never an old hag.
No.
Maybe an old something else, but not a hag. Okay. The term older adults and seniors are preferred when speaking of people over 60 years old. Once again, I'm just like, really, 60? That is just still so young.
So young. So older adults or seniors versus the elderly.
Yes. Yes. So, Anyway, the thing to go along with the elderly is don't say you're too old to do that.
Right.
Boy, there's a 103-year-old man who married his 91-year-old sweetheart.
Cute.
And a 79-year-old Irish grandmother who sneaked out of the pensioner's home to get herself a tattoo.
Oh, good for her. Had a girl.
Then there was the gal that went skydiving for the first time at 72. But she lost her dentures
Mid-flight. Oh, goodness sakes.
Yeah. So anyway, basically we just gotta really just know your crowd, know your audience, right?
Apparently offering unsolicited help also. So anticipating a loved one's need and offering help is one of the nicest acts of kindness. Who doesn't love an extra helping hand sometimes?
Right.
The problem isn't the offer to help. It's the assumption that the person can't navigate a normal life thing due to their age.
Yeah.
So basically, if your belief that that older person can't do something, that may lead them to believe they're not capable of it, even if they are. So the best tactic in these situations is to ask if they need help and then empower them to continue to do the task in some way rather than take it over for them.
Oh, that's
I always
big
try
in
to
home
say
care.
like, how can I help you? Or what can I do for you? Or, but not try to just take over things. Although there are some people that really want you to just take over things. They'd like to direct from where they are.
Yes.
But again,
Yeah.
know your crowd.
But that's in home care. That's a really touchy spot because we're not to go in there to take over
Right.
and just do everything for them. What we're doing is just being there to assist them.
Yep.
Because they 99% of the time, they don't want to just sit there as we fold their clothes. They certainly can help with that.
Sure.
But they may have certain problems like making the bed and getting that fitted sheet on. And so that's one of those that you got to find out your audience.
And you can say things if it's like physically, would you like help going up the stairs or would you prefer to take my arm or use the elevator? I remember a time at the post office years ago, and I just always hold the door for people. It doesn't matter if they're younger, if they're older, if they're
right.
It doesn't matter. That's just a habit that I do. I hold the door if I see someone's coming.
I love it when people do that for me.
I got my butt handed to me by an older gentleman that was so offended that I would hold the door because he could do it his damn self.
Oh, man.
It was crazy. I'd never experienced anything like that in my life before. And it didn't stop me. Like it wasn't this significant emotional event that stopped me from, I still hold the door. But I do remember it because it was just strange. So basically, just asking, politely like, oh, would you like a hand going up the stairs or can I get that for you? Whatever, but not overbearing.
Yeah. Yeah. The opposite of that is then praising someone's independence. So we have to be a little bit careful. Here we go. This one gal said that her kids were so shocked when I wanted to move into a retirement community because I was so independent. And she said, I can still definitely take care of myself, but I was tired of being lonely. So she was looking at the other aspects, mostly the social component. Sure. And there's some beautiful, beautiful places that are independent livings nowadays. And a lot of people just go there because they're going to have a new friend group.
Right.
So that's really, really important. And what a cool thing that she just made that per mind that she was doing that. And it wasn't a fight because often we fight with people.
Yeah.
To get any help at all, even though they desperately need that. And the other one, wow, you may live to be 100. And believe it or not everybody wants to live to be 100. Some people are just getting tired.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I don't know.
They're like, don't remind me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that all depends on if you're illness free, how self-sufficient are you, and having a purpose in life. So...
cracking old age jokes.
Oh, no.
People cracking jokes about their own aging can be funny and a good way to cope with the ups and downs of getting older, but making jokes about someone else's age or about older people in general isn't fun or funny. So it's still considered socially acceptable to make fun of someone's age, but people often don't realize that when they are making negative jokes at the expense of old people, they're insulting their future selves as well. And I got to say it, the jokes about getting old are getting old.
Boy, we've kind of talked about how somebody looks great for their age. So the one thing that I am pretty bad at this, when I do a home visit, I can just immediately fall in love with the person. And I'll come back, and the first thing I say to you guys is, oh my gosh, she was so adorable. She's just so cute. You want to hug her. And she's probably like, don't you try to hug me, lady. But this one said, Grandpa is adorable. Puppies and babies and kittens with yarn are adorable. Older people are not adorable. And it's first cousin cute are demeaning terms when applied to someone whom you are trying to show respect. Knock it off already. The first million times was plenty. This isn't clever and frankly never was. So maybe I've been offensive this whole time, but nobody said so.
Well, now you know.
Yeah, so I can't say somebody's adorable, but you can't help it because there are a lot of older people that are simply so sweet.
Yes.
Just sweet as butter.
I know. And it's crazy because when we do our home visits, it just depends on who does it and then how you fall in love with them.
It's true.
And it's like,
it's true.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Telling someone they look great for their age. Basically, it's an incredibly common compliment, but upon closer examination, it isn't really much of a compliment.
Yeah.
By telling someone they look great for their age, you're implying that someone of that age should look bad or that the standard for looking good gets lower as you get older. Yeah. Basically, you just say you look great.
Yeah.
You don't have to say for your age. Just
Right.
You look great.
Stop. Less is more.
Yeah. Happy, healthy, joyful, compassionate, fun, beautiful. None of those things are dependent on age.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Cute. Asking for their anti-aging secret is a no-no. You may think you're being polite by asking someone for their secret for staying young. After all, it implies they look good for their age. But now you know that implication is a big no-no. Don't compliment others by telling them they are aging backwards, and don't buy into the anti-aging propaganda yourself. And yes, it's just propaganda. Ooh, that's a deep one. There's no such thing as anti-aging or aging backwards. They're just marketing speak. We're all aging, and that's a great thing. So say instead of asking someone for their secret tips on how to look younger, ask them to share some of their life-earned wisdom. What is your top tip for finding joy? And a lot of that comes from the beauty industry. Gray hairs, all of the things.
Gray hair don't care, except for that's not true.
I know. I
Gray
still
hair
care
do
a lot.
care.
I care about my gray hairs, and it's starting to peak a little bit more every day. But I have a cousin that's gone gray, and she's a year younger than me. She just looks simply beautiful. But in my head, I'm not ready to go there. But then, like I've said it 100 times, Patsy still gets her hair done, and she's 95. So I come by it naturally.
It's all about what makes you feel good.
Right on? Yeah,
Yep.
Exactly.
Calling someone young at heart. Describing someone as young at heart implies that their body is old and frail. Again, that equates youth with positive attributes and old age with negative ones. So what people typically mean with this so-called compliment is that you seem joyful, happy, exuberant, or active, all qualities, again, that aren't unique to youth. So you can't choose to age, but you can choose how you experience aging, and choosing happiness should be encouraged and recognized. So you can say things like, I love your joy and your zest for life, instead of, oh, you're so young at heart. Yeah.
Are you laughing about the next one?
I am laughing about the next one because we do this. It doesn't matter if you're young or old or in between.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
I do not have an indoor voice.
Automatically speaking loudly.
Yes. My sister one time actually said to me, why do you talk so loud? And I had to stop and kind of process that, going, that's a really good question. And I was like, well, for one thing, my husband is almost deaf and refuses to talk about hearing aids. But then the demographic of the people that I go to, when I do a home visit, one of the first things I have to assess is if they can hear me, because one of the first things, the first 5 minutes is, well, this ear I can hear out of, so talk this way. So I'll go and sit by him on that side. The other day I did a home visit, and the guy's like, well, I had 2 good hearing aids until I needed to fix the battery, and now neither of them work. So they had to find the old hearing aid, so you can use this ear. And it was just cute. But I tend to talk louder, and but you get to the point where you have to gauge that pretty fast.
Sure.
And understand.
Well, and maybe the takeaway is basically finding out beforehand whether or not you need to speak loudly, not just assuming that you need to yell.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yep. Right. When I walk into a home visit, I'm looking at a lot of things because just the other day with that same home visit, boy, he shut me down when we started talking money.
Oh boy.
Woo, he put me
You
in my
get
place.
out now.
Yeah, he was like, that's it. We've had enough. And I said, fantastic. Now you're educated, and that's all that we wanted to do today.
Yep.
He could hear me great when we were talking money. Ironic.
Isn't that? That is a little ironic, right? Oh
yeah.
boy. Telling someone they're not a good cultural fit for your company. I can't even imagine that.
Oh, can you? Yeah.
Companies go out of their way to seem polite when turning down job applicants, but while this phrase seems more polite than the alternative, we don't want you working here. It's also a common workplace euphemism used to exclude someone who someone from employment based on their race, age, race, or gender. And then if we are to think about it, these are all legally protected classes.
Yeah,
but
touchy.
Yeah, so that. Yeah.
We actually embrace having our older people come in and apply because there's a lot of things that younger people don't know what to do, how to do it.
Right.
And so there's in home care, we do have such a plethora of clients that, you know, we have everything from companionship to end of life. There's usually a seat for everybody.
Yep.
You know, obviously we have to be very careful where we place people, and we just have that frank discussion with them. We're not going to expect you to do any lifting, or this person has a lot of stairs to do the laundry, so you won't be doing that chore. We're just not setting people up for failure.
Right.
But a lot of very energetic, viable elders are actually looking for something to do. If they're not volunteering at the clothes closet, you know, they can be here and actually be making some mad money.
Yes. I would like to hire my mother as a caregiver.
Oh, my word.
If ever her schedule opens up, which it never will, because Grandma Fisher's going to live forever.
Yeah.
And there's always plenty of women in the neighborhood that need that mom gets hired out to, or loaned out, or however that works.
Exactly.
Contracted out.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, she's phenomenal. She is so good.
I have thought about that with my mother because she's down in a different area than your mom.
Yes.
And I'm just like, if we had a couple of my moms down in that area, we could help so many people down there. But she, you know, once she retired, she actually got busier, just helping everybody and doing some volunteering and church stuff.
Well, like we were talking about when we had them here for the 100th episode, talking about their self-care. And one thing that I noticed is all of their self-care is still helping other people.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just giving of themselves. Yeah. This is really a bizarre thing.
Yeah. I never heard of such a thing.
And so I'm having problems wrapping my mind around it because there's all this stuff nowadays using your pronouns and like your when you're identifying yourself in like your emails and all of that. And they're saying putting your age in your email signature seems to be about the most ridiculous damn thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't get it.
I've never heard of that, but this is advising against it.
I
mean, I've never heard of that, but we're also from Kalispell, Montana, so maybe that's why we haven't heard of it.
Oh, shake my head. I tell you, this give me headaches on stuff like that. That is the goofiest thing.
You don't ask age and you don't ask weight. That's just how it is, man.
Let me tell you something that I just recently did, and it should have been my good news story. Just last weekend, I took my girls, 20-somethings, and had them go to an 80s concert. It was so fun, and the heartthrob from the 80s is still a heartthrobs. Now, Rick Springfield, and don't you say it, she likes to torment me, but anyway, he's now just had a birthday, so was he 73 or 74? And man, that guy can still freaking rock. I'm just mind blowing at how, I mean, because that's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how many old rockers are still just going.
Rock on, man.
And so I'm just like, you know what? It's all up here.
So much of it is.
All up here.
Yeah. So much of it.
Yes.
Well, what did you bring us for a winding down grandma saying something?
Yes. This one kind of goes back to when we were talking about the trends and the slang. But this one is old people slang for it's time to go. And unfortunately, I use some of these. Oh, Lord. Let's rock and roll. Let's skedaddle. Saddle up, partners. Let's get the heck out of Dodge. Let's hit the road. Let's blow this popsicle stand. Let's hightail it out of here. And let's get this show on the road.
Sadly,
how many of those have you
probably
used?
all of them
All
at
of
one
them.
time or another.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Well, yeah. All right, people. If you have not yet subscribed, please do that you can do Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Please go the Caregiven Podcast. If you have a verse or a good news story or a grandma saying something that you want everybody else to learn more about, please email those to thecaregivenpodcast@gmail.com and leave us a review. We're looking for reviews. Only the good ones.
Only the good ones. This was a fun one.
Yeah.
It really cracked me up a lot.
Yep. All right. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Have a good day.